Hi, I'm Katie Kortman, and today we're going to be talking all about fun holiday collars. Over the years, I have collected many collars from vintage clothing stores, from thrift stores, ones I've made, and now they're like totally in style, so everybody should be wearing a collar, in my opinion. Um, I know during the holidays we have occasions where we need to be fancy and occasions where we need to have like an ugly sweater or just you want to have fun at a party. We have New Year's coming up. I bought this vintage collar at a thrift store in Miami, or an antique vintage store in Miami. And I used to put this collar on whenever I needed to like go to a fancy party or go to the Nutcracker or whatever. At Christmas time, I'd throw it over shirts, dresses, all sorts of things. And because it was beaded and sparkly, it just instantly made it look fancy. But you can also go the opposite direction and throw all sorts of crazy things on a collar. And then you don't need to have an ugly sweater. You can just have an ugly collar and pop it onto whatever you're wearing. Not that this is an ugly collar. Here's just another example of a collar I made out of leather, and I used some different trims and things and painted on it. Here's a collar that I made again with leather and some jewelry findings. I made it kind of like a necklace, and I put some pom-poms and some tassels. I've made knitted collars. I have antique doily collars. Some antique one. I used to commission a friend to crochet collars for me, but now I know how to knit them myself. I have tatted collars, all sorts of things. So whether you want to go fancy or you want to go, I'm going to say freaky, but if you want to go like tacky, we're going to kind of explore some different ideas of what you can do for your holiday collar. I'm so happy you're joining. Let's get started. Some of the things that you're going to need are definitely some kind of hot glue gun. You could use needle and thread. I have collected some different things from around my house that I thought would be fun. If you want to make like a winter, festive greenery collar, you can collect some fake greens. Those you can usually get at like the dollar store. I have these big like acrylic sequin things, I guess, I found in Tokyo. I love using perler beads. My daughter made some of little perler bead flowers. I thought those could be fun to put on a collar, like sequins. I have pom-poms, multicolored pom-poms. I didn't have any sequins in my own stash, but I have a lot of like kind of sequiny bead things. These you have to glue on. They don't have holes. So, these are probably good for like a tacky collar. You can also use like spikes. I have these metal spikes. That would be fun to put on. I have some tassels. I have a big bag of pom-poms. This is from my current clothing collection that I'm selling, and I have a lot left over. So green pom-poms. I have scraps of some fur that's going to be in something I'm selling in my collection. So that could be fun to add. I also have some more of these little pieces of fur for my collection. So I just gathered things that I had around my house already. You can also go to the store and find sparkly things, tinsel, all sorts of holiday things would be really fun. Leather could be cool. So just look around your house and find something that you can use. You will also need a collar pattern. I have, there are links to free patterns, and there are patterns that you can purchase, or you can draft your own pattern. You guys, this is a party. I hope you have on some good Christmas music. I hope you have a fun drink. I'm drinking a certain soda that is not sponsoring me, so I'm not going to name it, but if you know me, you know what I'm drinking. Anyways, I hope you're here for the holiday collar party. Hey, hey. And maybe you need to dance. Maybe you need a little, Mariah Carey. What's a good, maybe some hip-hop Christmas? I don't know. You need something you can, move your booty to and make your collar and drink your drink. Yeah, I'm dancing to the music in my head. Yeah. Hey. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. What's up? What's up? Okay, I am ready to make my collar. So first I'm gonna find a foundation. I'm gonna start, velvet would be a really good one. Spoonflower has some great velvet. The Celosia velvet or something. I have some scraps of denim, so I'm gonna use denim. And wait a second. It's the same as my pants. Okay, so I'm gonna make a collar out of this denim on one side, and I think I'll do this one on the other side because, I mean, you might as well make it double-sided. Actually, unless it's gonna be really bumpy and crazy, then it doesn't matter what the other side looks like. I'm not sure. Okay, let's move all the fun stuff out of the way, and let's cut our collar. I have my collar pattern piece, and I'm gonna get my fabric. I'm gonna fold it in half so that I can cut two at the same time. Pay attention to your grain line. Okay, once you cut your fabric out of your main fabric and your backing fabric, or the back side of your collar, then you're ready to sew. All right, you'll want to follow the directions for your particular collar pattern, but most of them have something a little similar to this, where you're gonna take two right sides. So I have my lining or my back side, and I have my top side, and I'm putting right sides together. And I am gonna sew around this and leave an opening right here. I like the part that I close at the end to be on the back. This could also have been done on the fold, so it was one continuous collar. Actually, my pattern is supposed to be on the fold and I forgot. Anyway, we're doing it this way. If you wanna have a trim that peeks out, so when these are like this, if you wanna have a trim on your edge that you're not hot gluing or putting on afterwards, then you're gonna need to sandwich it in between and pin that in before you start sewing. I've decided I wanna put this pom-pom trim, and so before I pin these together, I'm gonna insert this so that the part that I want sticking out is on the inside, and the little bit of seam allowance on the trim is what I'm sewing. Okay, this fabric is moving a lot, and that is because I did not interface it. So bad teacher, I forgot to tell you, you're gonna wanna interface this if it's not stable. Okay, I have done one side. Just gonna show you on this one. I'm gonna trim any seam allowance. I'm gonna trim corners. I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss any spots. I see there's gonna be a hole right here, so I need to stitch that back up. And then once that's all done, you can kind of trim any little corners. You can turn it right side out. Look how fun that is. I have some collars like this in my new fall clothing collection. And that's how I knew I wanted them. I love a pom-pom trim, as you can see if you check out my stuff. Anyway, sorry not to be trying to promote that. But I mean, really, if I had interfaced this side, this could be a reversible collar. I didn't interface it, so there's a few parts where it kind of gathered. I think a walking foot would also help, if you're adding a trim that's kind of thick like this. But once you have both of these and you attach them, I'll show you how I'm going to attach them in the back. You'll be ready to decorate it. Another idea is to, instead of using something you have to sew, to use a fabric that you don't have to sew. This is a piece of leather. You could use vegan leather, regular leather, and you don't have to sew any edges. You don't even have to back it. And your collar can have a clasp and we can work on top. This I painted on, but I am going to add some more stuff to this one. You can also make a ruffle collar. So I have 2 long strips of this sheer poly organza that is probably about 6 inches wide, maybe 7 inches wide, but I made them, I just did the width of the fabric, which looks like it's about, I don't know, 4.5 feet wide. I don't know. But I just did 6 inches wide and the width of the fabric from selvage to selvage. And I am going to attach these here, and then I'm going to ruffle the whole thing. And if you don't know how to ruffle, you can look up a tutorial, but all you have to do is sew a basting stitch or like a long stitch along the edge of the whole long rectangle, and then you pull the one thread, the bobbin thread, and it ruffles. And then we're going to have more of a rough collar, which will be fun, and we can still put stuff on it. So I'm just making some different ideas just in case you're in a different mood than that sewn one that I just did. I folded under the seam allowance so that this wouldn't be rough against my skin, even though this doesn't shed or fray on its own. So this way it'll be softer, it won't fray, and then I'll have to do the same thing to this edge when I'm done. Okay, I am pulling one of the threads of my basting stitch. So it was a very long, loose stitch. I did do it through 3 layers because I created a seam allowance. You know, I folded it under. I created a hem. So it's going to be a little bit tighter than if you're just doing this with 1 layer of fabric. You don't want to pull too tight because you don't want it to break. And again, this is just one version of a collar. So this one will be more of a ruffly collar. And then we can glue things on there or stitch or whatever. Okay, so I gathered the whole ruffle, and now you can see I have like a ruff, a hot pink ruff. And I think it would be cool to add some of the little pixel perler beads, maybe some of the fur, pom-poms, sequins. This one could be a fancy one. Also, if you do any of these collars in like a velvet, like the Spoonflower velvet or a satin or something fancier, then when you put on little fancy beads and sequins and stuff, it can look fancier. What we have right now, and as far as my supplies go, I guess I'm leaning a little more towards funky than fancy. Funky festive instead of fancy festive. But I just want to give you guys a lot of ideas so that you can really take this wherever it works for you. Here I want to show you, if you did 2 pieces and not 1 continuous one, again, follow your instructions, but for mine, which I self-drafted, I am just folding under these edges, which I will press, and I will press this whole thing so it's nice and flat. But before I shut this closed, I need to make something that will tie this together. So you can stick a ribbon, you could do more of the pom-pom trim, you could make, twill tape or something, or you can make your own, and you just want to tuck that in there, and then you top stitch this closed. Okay, for this collar, I decided instead of putting a tie, that I was gonna put a snap. So I'm gonna have a little snap closure right here that I will hand sew on, but I don't need to have that on this video. I put my tag on there. So for this one, I'm gonna do something, I'm not sure yet. On this one, which I had already constructed this collar, I decided I want to put the greenery. So I pulled everything apart and I placed it where I want it. And now you can either tack it with thread or hot glue it. But since this is like really just for like fun party, you know, not for really wearing, I'm fine with just hot gluing it. You could also use like a craft glue or something. And then I think that I will put in some like green gems, maybe some of the green pom-poms. We're just gonna go really for the like ugly Christmas situation. And I have hot pink and green. It's kind of like red and green for Christmas. Okay, so now we have the greens part done, and I put a few gems. I am going to now fill it in with these and some of these green pom-poms. Okay. Now we have some jewels, some greens, but let's see how this looks. All right, what do we think? Am I ready for an ugly Christmas party where you're like, I came dressed as the Christmas greens, the Christmas winter greens? I think so. Fun! Okay, for this one, I have these acrylic pieces that I can stitch on. You can see I have paint all over my hands. So I won't show myself doing that because that would be very boring. But you can have big sequins, or I mean, obviously all of these things can be done whatever you want. But I'm gonna do these acrylic shapes, and first I'm just gonna kind of figure out where I want them before I start to tack them on. I might take a picture because once I lift this up, they're all gonna fall down, obviously. So if I just snap a picture, then I can keep referencing the picture of kind of where I want them to be placed. For this one, I need to attach the neck part to something. So I'm gonna sew this strapping that I have, and I'm gonna sew it to this so that I have a long ends that I can tie together. And then for the decoration, okay, I have two different ideas for this one. I can put this tassel, I have these long tassels that are actually about the same length, and I can attach them here so they kind of lay, and I probably will go with this, but my first idea was actually to hot glue these little perler beads on here. I can show you something else that I did this on, and I think it would look really cool and speckled on there. I might do both. I did this on this headband where I hot glued them on. They do come off sometimes. You can see I'm missing some, but this headband has gone in suitcases and stuff. Sequins would be cool. Pom-poms would be cool. Little bits of fur. I made a jacket that's this with little bits of fur on it. But I kind of want to use this tassel that I've had forever and never known what to do with. So we'll see. Okay, so I sewed all the stuff on, and I think instead of having it be tight around the neck, because this is a little rough under here, which I could cover it with something, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna make it have a snap closure, and then I want the straps to kind of hang down like this, and I'm gonna cut them off. But here's another kind of fun, crazy collar. And I used like organza, or you could use tulle. I got some tassel and some strapping. This is all stuff that you can find at your local craft and fabric stores. So it's crazy, it's fun. Just go for it. Because then it's time to party for the holidays. and dance. If you're not here for the party, if this is too much for you, then you're in the wrong class. This is another, okay. This is a no-sew collar, so you could do this on felt, on vegan leather. This happens to be real leather. And I have E6000 jewelry and bead glue. You could also use hot glue or another glue that you have. They're kind of looking like little Christmas lights. Be fun to kind of have like a little wire running through as if they're little light bulbs or something. Not wire, but like a line that made them look like Christmas lights. But I won't. We'll keep it abstract. All right, and there we have it. I just need to attach something right here so that I can clasp it. I might use a jewelry finding or something, but this will need to dry overnight because the E6000 needs time. So here is a no-sew collar, which I will move over to the side. All right, so I hope you had fun making some fun, festive, crazy collars today. They can be everyday wearable, or they can be just for fun parties or dancing in your house. But I hope you had fun. We made kind of a crazy collar here with the faux greens, the fake greens. This one that's not dry yet, but we could call this like Christmas lights. I'm scared to put it on because it's not dry, but you can get the idea. Made this fun ruff with strapping, organza or tulle, and tassels. And I hope that you were inspired to make something today. And we have this collar with the big gems. I actually only hand stitched half of them because not even half. It was taking so long. I don't have that kind of time. I would recommend doing that if you have a big gem that you can hand sew on, but I used the E6000 because I don't have time. So, but it still looks really cool, and I can't wait to wear this one. Lots of big collar energy. And I hope that you were inspired to make something today. So have fun, make some collars, and show me when you do. Tag me on Instagram or DM me the pictures. I'd love to see what you've made. You can find me at Katie Kortman Art on Instagram or katiekortman.com on my website. Thank you for joining me.